Hello students, a very good evening to all and welcome back to Daily Current Affairs of 14th of July. So these are the important current affairs for today. Very good evening to all. Welcome back to Yes. So these are the important topics for today. So in first article, we shall be discussing about the recent citizenship rulings in India and how Supreme Court has responded to those citizenship rulings. Next important article is about Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council. So as you already know that Ladakh is demanding for the inclusion in the sixth schedule of the constitution. So because of that, this article is important. Next important article is related to the disposal of nuclear waste in India, and metal organic framework based technology is seen as a yes, next, yes. Okay, so next thing topic is about biogas. So this yes, is it audible now? Yes, I think it is audible now. Yeah, just a second. Okay, so yes, after discussing these four topics, then we shall be discussing the two practice questions. So, yes, so let's start our discussion. So here the first important article is related to the citizenship rulings in India. So recently Supreme Court has said that whatever may be the citizenship rulings in India, all those rulings must be fair, and all those rulings must follow the due process of law. See, to understand this, first of all, let's understand the context. So recently, Supreme Court has set aside 27 Guwahati High Court judgments that had declared several persons as the foreigners. So see, you can understand in this way. Maybe consider for an example, maybe someday you wake up and when you wake up, the government authorities inform you that your citizenship is doubtful, and because of that, you have to appear before the foreigners tribunal. So you will be shocked, right? That because you lived here for long period of time, you completed your education, you are working here, so you are living in India for long period of time, and suddenly now your citizenship is under doubt. Now, for some reason, you could not appear in front of the foreigners tribunal because government authorities told you that if you want to prove your citizenship, you have to appear in front of the government authority, in front of foreigners tribunal. But for some unavoidable reason, because of that reason, you could not appear in front of the tribunal. So what government authorities did? Immediately, government authorities declared you as a foreigner. And on this decision only, Supreme Court of India has commented that just because a person could not appear in front of the tribunal, appear before the tribunal, you have declared that person as the foreigner. You have not done any background examination, you have not checked the government records, you did nothing. Just because that person could not come, you declared as the foreigner. So that's why Supreme Court has said that you must also do your investigations. Government authorities also have some responsibility, and this complete citizenship ruling must be fair and must be just for the people who are living in India. So this was the overall background. So recently what happened, many individuals in Assam were declared as foreigners by the foreigner tribunal only because they did not appear before the tribunal, and the tribunal passed the ex parte orders. Ex parte orders means the order in which out of two parties only one party is present, second party was absent, and hence the order was passed. And that too, these orders were upheld by the High Court of India. So this is not a good thing. So that's why Supreme Court has told that the complete process must be just. Yes. Now, since we are discussing about the foreigners tribunal, so let's quickly discuss few important things about foreigners tribunal. So here, first important thing is that foreigners tribunal are the quasi judicial authorities. Please remember that these are quasi judicial authorities, and they were constituted under Foreigners Tribunals Order of 1964. This you have to remember, that they were constituted under Foreigners Tribunals Order, and this order was passed under which act? So this order was passed under Foreigners Act of 1946. So first thing, these are quasi judicial bodies. Second thing, these bodies were constituted under Foreigners Tribunals Order, which was issued under Foreigners Act of 1946. Now, this is very obvious. What will be the purpose of these quasi judicial bodies? They have to determine whether any person is Indian citizen or whether that person is a foreigner. Now, next thing which we must discuss is that why we are discussing foreigners tribunal a lot. Why the decision of these tribunals are important. See, any decision with which these foreign tribunals are giving, they can have a huge impact on the life of any person, because if foreigners tribunal declare you as a foreigner, then it can lead to the detention. You can be detained, you can be deported, you can be even separated from your family, and it would result in the risk of statelessness. That's why any decision of foreigner tribunal will be very important. That's why Supreme Court has said that decision must be fair, decision must follow a due process of law. Yes. Next thing is, important thing under Foreigners Act of 1946 is that if public authorities have asked me that whether I am citizen of India or not, so that burden of proof, that burden of proving myself to be the citizen of India lies on me. So government authorities will not work on this. So government authorities will not search for the documents that whether I am citizen or not. I myself have to prove that I am the citizen of India or not. So here it is mentioned under section 9 of the Foreigners Act 1946 that the burden of proof lies on the person concerned. Here, so how can you prove that you are citizen of India? Maybe you can show some of your land records or your voter ID or birth records, etc. But all those things you have to do. The burden would not be on the government authorities. Now, next thing which we would discuss is about the articles 14 and 21, which is applicable to the foreigners also. So see, one more important thing Supreme Court said here, that although Section 9 of Foreigners Act say that the burden of proof lies on the person concerned, but it's not like government authorities will not do anything. At least government authorities must do the background check. They must check all the government records, all the available records. So it's not like all the responsibilities on the person itself. You must also do some work. So this was said by the Supreme Court of India. Yes. Now Supreme Court has said that why you have to do all these things, because there are certain fundamental rights in India which are applicable even for the foreigners. Because see, there are some articles, for example, Article 15 or Article 16. All these articles, all these fundamental rights are available only to the citizens of India. But there are some of the fundamental rights which are available to the foreigners also. And what are those fundamental rights? For example, Article 14, that is right to equality, or Article 21, that is right to life. So it also includes right to live with dignity. That's why Supreme Court has said that all the process which the government authorities are doing, they must follow a just, fair process, and they must follow the due process of law. Yes. Now, next article is about the autonomous hill councils in Ladakh. So here, quickly let's discuss about the context. What is the context? So recently, Ladakh administration have announced 17 new tehsils to strengthen the grassroots level governance. Next thing, the Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council framework will be extended to all the 7 districts in the Ladakh, and center would be continue the discussions on providing the constitutional safeguards to Ladakh. So first of all, let's discuss these things one by one. First important thing is that earlier Ladakh used to have, see, earlier what happened in 2019, this complete region, it was divided into two union territories. One was Jammu Kashmir and second was Ladakh. Now Ladakh earlier used to have just 2 districts. Those districts were Kargil as well as Leh. Now what central government has done, government has added 5 other new districts to the Ladakh. Now what are those districts? So see, here, Kargil and Leh, already these districts existed. Now we have Changthang, we have Nubra, we have Zaskar, Sham, as well as Dras. So now in total, Ladakh have 7 districts in total. So see, earlier Ladakh had 2 districts, like right? We have Leh as well as Kargil. So Leh and Kargil both had Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council. So main purpose of this council was to ensure and strengthen the grassroots level governance so that citizens can participate in the governance. So now since we have 5 more districts, so we will be having this autonomous hill development council framework to other 5 districts also. Now next thing is 17 new tehsils are created. So see, the significance of this is, see, for example, you are in a village, right? And if you want to, so if you have any work related to documents, for example, caste certificate, birth certificate, anything, or if you want to complain related to any government scheme, you have to go to the district headquarters, and maybe you have to travel for around 100 or 120 kilometers. Now if many tehsils are present near the villages, so maybe you have to travel only for 10 or 15 kilometers, and easily you can file your complaint, or easily you can do your important work. So this is the significance of creation of new tehsils, so that it will ensure the grassroots level governance in Ladakh. Now let's discuss. So please remember this map. So earlier Ladakh used to have just the 2 districts. Now Ladakh have 7 districts in total. Yes. Next thing, since we are discussing about the Autonomous Hill Development Council, so quickly let's discuss in detail. Yes. So first thing is, please remember that these Autonomous Hill Development Council are the statutory body. Under which statute they are created? They are created under the same statute, that is Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council Act of 1995. So earlier we had 2 councils, first in Kargil, second in Leh. Now this framework will be extended to the other 5 districts also. Now what is the purpose of this? So its purpose is the local self-government. So its purpose is to ensure the local self-governance in the districts of Ladakh. Now, what was the need to create these kind of institutions? Because we don't have these kind of councils in every state in India. So what was the need? See, the need was the territory of Ladakh, the geography of Ladakh is a bit different, because Ladakh has a very unique culture. So more than 90% of the population in Ladakh, mostly they belong to tribal population. Second thing is, the terrain is in Ladakh is very difficult. That means many livelihood opportunities cannot be created there. Next thing is, mostly villages in Ladakh are in the remote regions. That's why Ladakh demanded that we want some kind of constitutional protection, so that we can protect our culture, we can protect our livelihood, etc., etc. And because of that only, this framework of councils came into existence. Now, since now what is happening, the people in Ladakh are demanding the inclusion in the sixth schedule of the constitution. So see, as you already know, sixth schedule of the constitution provides the constitutional safeguards for the four districts in northeastern India. So these four districts in northeastern India have autonomous district councils. So see, just now we discussed about the hill councils. So the problem with hill councils is that these are the statutory body. That means they are created under any statute. But if we talk about the autonomous districts councils under sixth schedule of the constitution, so these are the constitutional bodies. See, constitutional bodies would be having way more autonomy. They would be having way more powers. That's why Ladakh is demanding that instead of these hill councils, which are created under a statute, we want the constitutional protection which is given under sixth schedule. But central government is saying that instead of including you in the sixth schedule of the constitution, we would make a separate provision. We will customize a separate provision for you, and we will be including you under Article 371 of the constitution instead of sixth schedule. See, first of all, understand why central government is reluctant to include Ladakh in the sixth schedule. First thing is that Ladakh is very near to LAC, that is line of actual control, that is the border of India and China. We have the border between India and China. Now, if we give complete autonomy to Ladakh, it would be very difficult for the center to assert some kind of dominance in that region, because if any area belongs to the border, if any area in India is adjacent to the border countries, and especially one of our enemy country, then it would be very difficult to take hold of that area, because autonomy means people in Ladakh would be having certain kind of independence. But since first thing, it is union territory, second thing, it has border with China, that means for security purposes, central government is not allowing that Ladakh to be included under sixth schedule of the constitution. Second important thing why central is reluctant, because if we see the constitution, so sixth schedule was made specially for the states in the northeastern India. So in the constitution also you would find those four states. Now, if you want to include Ladakh in the sixth schedule, then it would demand a major constitutional amendment. Now consider center has done that constitutional amendment, but after that the demand from other regions will also rise, like demand of Gorkha land or the demand of Bodo land. These kind of demands will also rise. That's why center is saying that we will customize a special provision for you. So we are not including you in the sixth schedule, but we would be including you under Article 371, because many states are already included under Article 371, like Maharashtra, Karnataka, all these states. So that's why center is saying we would be making a separate provision for you, and center is assuring that we would provide the constitutional protection also. So this was the overall thing related to Ladakh. Yes. Now, next article is related to the disposal of nuclear waste in India. So here, a new study finds the efficient way to filter nuclear waste. So first of all, let's discuss what is the context. So recently, scientists from China have developed a new metal organic framework based technology, and this technology will help to remove the tritium, which is an isotope of hydrogen, from the radioactive wastewater. So see, first of all, let's understand the complete story. What happened? See, what happened, as you already know, in 2011, tsunami took place in Indian Ocean. So because of that earthquake and tsunami, it led to the breakdown of Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, right? So it led to the meltdown. Now, since the power plant was melting down, it required the large amount of water for the cooling purpose, right? So we used large amount of water to cool that nuclear power plant. Now the water which was used for cooling the nuclear power plant, now that water is contaminated with the nuclear waste, right, with the radioactive waste. So after that, what government in Japan did, now government started to segregate that nuclear waste from the water, so that finally we can release the water in the ocean, because the water which contains the radioactive waste we cannot release in the atmosphere, right? So first of all you have to treat that water. So what technology Japan is using to treating the water? So mainly Japan is using advanced liquid processing system. So through this system, from the contaminated water, you can easily remove the radioactive elements. For example, cesium, strontium, cobalt, these elements can be easily removed through this liquid processing system. But the problem here is this process cannot remove tritium, because tritium is also radioactive substance. But this process, which is the advanced liquid processing system, this process can remove mostly the radioactive elements but not the tritium. So now what was the solution with Japan? What Japan did, that since we cannot remove the tritium, at least we can dilute the water, so that the content of tritium in a volume of water is very less and the impacts will be very less. So this was the solution of Japan. But but first of all, let's discuss the problem with tritium. Because even though the government of Japan is diluting the water, so we will be having less amount of tritium, but still tritium is radioactive substance and still it can affect the marine population as well as it can affect people also. So first of all, let's discuss why we are trying to remove tritium. So see, the problem with tritium is that tritium releases very weak radioactive particles. Tritium releases, yes, just a second. Is it visible? Yes, yes, it's visible. Okay. Yes, so problem with tritium is that tritium releases tritium releases weak beta radiations. And the problem with weak beta radiations is that it can cause harm to DNA or it can cause harm to the genetic properties. So this is the main problem with tritium. That's why we are trying to remove tritium from the contaminated water. Now, what is the problem? Why we are not able to remove tritium from the water? So problem with tritium is, see, you already know that tritium is one of the isotope of hydrogen, right? So first isotope is protium, then we have deuterium, and then we have tritium. So the problem with the tritated water or the water in which tritium is that it looks exactly similar to the ordinary water, because it has same chemical properties, it has same molecular structure, etc, etc. That's why we cannot separate the ordinary water as well as tritated water. So now what will be the solution? Means at present how we were removing tritium from the water? So most common method was the boiling, because there is some difference between the boiling point of the normal water as well as the boiling point of tritated water. So in that way we could separate these two water. But even then we have problem is that difference in boiling point is very small. So because of that, it consumed a lot of energy, a lot of electricity to separate these two components, to separate normal water as well as the tritated water. So now we have a solution. Scientists in China have came up with the solution, and the solution is the metal organic framework, that is MOFs. So what this framework will do? See, these metal organic frameworks are the porous structures. Porous means they have small holes or small pores. So what these porous structures will do, they will act like a sponge. So first of all, they will absorb the tritium in their pores, and then they will exchange this tritium in place of hydrogen. So they will absorb the hydrogen, and in place of tritium, they will be giving back the normal hydrogen, because tritium is also the isotope of hydrogen. So they will take back tritium, they will give back hydrogen. So in this way, they can easily exchange tritium in the contaminated water. Now, next article is about biogas. So here the article is discussing that can biogas help in India's energy security. So why we are discussing this article? We are discussing this article because of the West Asia crisis. Because as you already know that West Asia crisis have highlighted the vulnerabilities of India, right? Because although India has diversified its energy resources, but then also still India is dependent a lot on the imported fossil fuels, right? And even today, around 90% of India's LNG imports pass through Strait of Hormuz, which is under the crisis. That's why article is discussing that India can consider compressed biogas as the solution. So first of all, let's discuss about biogas, then we shall be discussing about compressed biogas. So if we talk about biogas, so see, biogas is nothing but a mixture of gases. And how we obtain these gases? These gases can be obtained if organic waste, for example agricultural waste or any food waste, if that waste decomposes in the absence of oxygen. So this decomposition in the absence of oxygen is known as anaerobic digestion. So please remember this. What is biogas? It is a mixture of gases. How those gases are formed? They are formed when organic waste is decomposed in the absence of oxygen. That is known as anaerobic digestion. So mainly what gases will be there in biogas? Mainly it will be methane. There will be some traces of carbon dioxide and small quantities of other gases, for example hydrogen sulfide. Now, if we want to compare biogas as well as compressed biogas, how can we compare? So see, if we talk about biogas, so here biogas is the raw gas. Raw gas means apart from methane, it will be having traces of other gas. But when we purify biogas and when we compress biogas, we will be getting the purified compressed biogas, and mostly it would be methane. And in biogas, we have some traces of carbon dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, etc. Now, biogas would be having lower energy value as compared to the compressed biogas. So, when you compress this biogas, when you purify this biogas, its energy quantity and its energy density increases. Because of that, since biogas does not have high energy value, we can use it only for the cooking purposes. But compressed biogas can be used in vehicles, can be used as a vehicle fuel, industry fuel, etc. etc. Now, in the article, some of the initiatives related to biogas were mentioned. So quickly, let's discuss them. So first is the Satat initiative. Satat, S-A-T-A-T, Satat initiative, that is sustainable alternative towards the affordable transportation. So this scheme was launched in 2018, and its main purpose was to promote the production as well as the use of compressed biogas. So Satat's initiative is related to the promotion, production and use of the compressed biogas. And under this scheme, what is the target for the government of India? So government have to create around 5,000 compressed biogas plants, and this has to be done through the private participation. Now, next scheme which was mentioned was the Govardhan scheme. Govardhan scheme, that means galvanizing organic bio agro resources dhan initiative. So main purpose of this scheme is to ensure the waste to wealth economy. That means you have to use your agricultural waste, food waste from the kitchen, all these waste in converting the compressed biogas in order to promote the circular economy. That means there would be no waste generated, everything would be reused. So here, please remember, if we talk about the ministry under which this initiative will be implemented, so it would come under Department of Drinking Water and Sanitation under Ministry of Jal Shakti. Now, article discusses that since we are considering that compressed biogas can be a solution for India's energy security, even then the progress related to this is very slow. What is the reason for that? First is the high initial investment. Because see, if you want to produce biogas at commercial level, it would require a lot of investment. Second thing is biomass collection. Same thing, if you want to produce the gas at commercial level, you would be needing a lot of feedstock, a lot of agricultural residue, a lot of decayed food, many things you would be needing. You have to collect a lot of things, and that thing is difficult. Next thing is the limited financing. Because see, investing in this project is very risky thing. That means the banks will be reluctant in giving financing, in giving credit facility to these kind of projects.
Next thing is the poor infrastructure. See, if you want to set up this compressed biogas plant, you will be needing both kind of linkages. You would be needing the backward linkages also, forward linkages also. And at present, the existing infrastructure in India is not sufficient for that. Next is the low private investment. Same thing as we discussed for the banks, that if the private parties would not see any benefit in this, especially in the short term, they would not be investing. For even for the long term, first of all, they must have some example, no, that this thing would benefit us. So these are some of the reasons because of which the progress is slow in India. Now, article discusses a very good thing, that what should be the approach of India towards the production of biogas. So first of all, article discusses one case study of Germany. So see what happened in Germany, that this was realized in Germany also, that compressed biogas can be a solution for the energy security. And they also realized that some of the crops can be used for the production of the compressed biogas, and then in that crop especially maize can be used for the production of biogas. But the problem was when the farmers realized that maize can be used for the production of biogas, so they stopped cultivating the important food grains, for example pulses or other kind of food grains, and they starting production of maize in the entire land. So because of that, what happened, the crop diversity declined, the production of actual food declined, and government has to impose the limits on the maize use. So here there will be always be a conflict between energy security and food security. So if you are diverting the food grains towards the energy security, that means you are creating the problem for food security. So here the article suggests India, that India must follow the Denmark model and not the Germany model. What the Denmark model is, Denmark also realized the importance of biogas, but Denmark discourages using the food crops. Denmark always says that only you have to use the waste which is produced. So, for example, the rice husk, wheat husk, that means all the agricultural waste, all the decayed food from the kitchen waste you can use, all these things you can use, so that you can have a balance between food security as well as fuel security. Yes. So, now practice question for you. So the question is, consider the following statements regarding foreigners tribunals. First is, they are constituted under Foreigners Tribunals Order of 1964. Second, they determine whether a person is foreigner under Indian law or not. Next, they are the constitutional courts. Now you have to tell me in the comment section that which option is correct. Yes, so this is the question. Next question is, titrated water is difficult to separate from ordinary water because it is non-radioactive, or it is insoluble in water, or its chemical properties are nearly identical to those of ordinary water, or it rapidly evaporates. So all these things you have to tell me in the comment section, and that's all from my side for today. Thank you and have a nice